Douglas Adams has been my favorite author ever since I discovered The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in my early teens, a few years after his death in 2001. While he started his writing career contributing to Monty Python's Flying Circus, Hitchhiker's Guide was his first real breakthrough. The Hitchhiker's Guide started out as a comedy radio play in 1978, but it is mostly known for its 1979 book adaptation. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy follows the story of Englishman Arthur Dent, one of the galaxy's last remaining human beings following the destruction of Earth to make way for a new hyperspace bypass. The story is very satirical, often poking fun at British bureaucracy, best represented in the alien species known as Vogons.
All the planning charts and demolition orders have been on display in your local planning department in Alpha Centauri for 50 of your Earth years, so you've had plenty of time to lodge any formal complaint, and it's far too late to start making a fuss about it now.
Douglas Adams ended up writing 5 Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books, the last one being published in 1992, and a TV show, video game and movie adaptation were all adapted by Douglas himself, making necessary changes to fit each medium. Douglas also wrote for the long-running British sci-fi show called Doctor Who. Douglas started working for the show when he wrote the season 16 story The Pirate Planet, which aired in 1978. He then got the job as script editor for 1979's season 17, meaning he was essentially the showrunner for the season. He also wrote season 17's City of Death story with producer Graham Williams under the joint pseudonym of David Agnew. They had to use a pseudonym because the BBC of the late 1970s did not like producers and script editors writing their own stories, as that would put other writers out of a job. City of Death is now cited by many fans as their favorite Doctor Who story of all time.
That bouquet.
What Paris has, it has an ethos, a life. It has
A bouquet?
a spirit all of its own. Like a wine, it has
A bouquet.
a bouquet. Yeah.
The third Hitchhiker's Guide book, Life, the Universe and Everything from 1982, was originally intended to be a Doctor Who story. Douglas also wrote Shada as the last serial of season 17, but the filming of these episodes was never completed, due to a labour strike at the BBC. He later retooled the story into the first book in his Dirk Gently series, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, from 1987. This book and its 1988 sequel, The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul, are both incredibly charming and weird. I can only describe them as detective novels heavily influenced by genre fiction, and I think I actually prefer Dirk Gently to the Hitchhiker series, and that says a lot. There have been 2 television adaptations of the Dirk Gently books, but while each adaptation captures different elements of what I love about the books, neither of them are as successful as any of the Hitchhiker's Guide adaptations, by virtue of having no involvement from Douglas himself.
Come, he said, sweeping through the door to where Miss Janice Pierce sat glaring at a pencil. Let us go. Let us leave this festering hellhole. Let us think the unthinkable. Let us do the undoable. Let us prepare to grapple with the ineffable itself, and see if we may not F it after all.
Over a long period, Douglas worked with television producer John Lloyd to make a humorous dictionary called The Meaning of Liff, the first edition of which being published in 1983, with the extended The Deeper Meaning of Liff coming out in 1990. The dictionary borrows names of lesser-known places in Britain and uses them as words for things that there aren't words for yet. Liff itself is actually a village in Scotland, but the dictionary defines Liff as a book the contents of which are totally belied by its cover. For instance, any book the dust jacket of which bears the words, "This book will change your life." Douglas Adams was always a technology proponent, even if he ridiculed the corporate and commercial side of tech in his books. He was fascinated by the possibilities of what technological advances might bring, best illustrated by his 1990 documentary Hyperland, starring himself and Doctor Who's Tom Baker, in which they effectively predict the internet as we know it today.
Are you tired, Mr. Adams, of the sort of television that just happens at you? That you just sit in front of like a couch potato? That doesn't involve you? Come on, interact with me.
Douglas also wrote several video games, like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game from 1984, Labyrinth the computer game from 1986, Bureaucracy from 1987, and Starship Titanic from 1998.
Now, as you can see, the ship, this thing you see behind me, well, we've had a little accident. Don't worry, no harm done, just a little scratch to the paintwork, I think. Luckily, your house was quite soft.
During the late 1980s, Douglas Adams traveled the world with British zoologist and photographer Mark Carwardine to look for animals on the brink of extinction. This project turned into a radio documentary series in 1989, and later a book adaptation released in 1990, featuring pictures from the trip taken by Carwardine. Douglas's descriptions of the journey is some of the funniest stuff he ever wrote, surpassing much of the comedy in his fictional books.
We get about 500 people a year bitten by spiders. A lot of them used to die, so we had to develop an antidote to stop people bothering me with it all the time. Took us years. Then we developed the snake bite detector kit. Would you like to see a kit? I've got a couple here in the venom fridge. Let's have a look. Oh, look, the cakes are in here too. Quick, have one while they're still fresh. Fairy cakes, I baked them myself. We asked tentatively if we could perhaps take a snake bite detector kit with us to Komodo. Ah, of course you can, Take as many as you like. Won't do you a blind bit of good because they're only for Australian snakes. So, what do we do if we get bitten by something deadly then, I asked. He blinked at me as if I was stupid. Well, what do you think you do? He said, you die, of course, that's what deadly means.
But seeing the dire fates many of these animals faced changed Douglas forever, making him a staunch environmental activist for the rest of his life. In 1994, he even climbed Mount Kilimanjaro while wearing a hot and heavy rhino suit, raising money for the British charity organisation Save the Rhino International. The BBC released a television sequel to Last Chance to See in 2009, 20 years after the book, and 8 years after Douglas's passing. In the show, Mark Carwardine and Stephen Fry, of QI fame and a friend of Douglas, revisit the animals Mark and Douglas covered for the book, to see how things had changed. It is an excellent program and one that Douglas would have been proud to have instigated. Douglas Adams died of a heart attack on the 11th of May 2001 while working out at a gym in California. He was only 49 years old. The Salmon of Doubt, a collection of short stories, essays and letters written by Douglas, was released a year after his death. The Salmon of Doubt was originally intended to be either the third Dirk Gently book or the sixth Hitchhiker's Guidebook, and the early drafts for this story takes up a good portion of the book. There would later be a sixth and final Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book released in 2009, but this time written by Artemis Fowl author Ian Colfer. It makes me incredibly sad to think of all the wonderful books that Douglas Adams could have written in the 20 years between now and when he died. But on the other hand, I'm thankful for what we did get. A mind like his comes but once in a generation, and I have yet to see anyone who could turn a phrase like he could.
In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. He felt that his whole life was some kind of dream, and he sometimes wondered whose it was and whether they were enjoying it.
Space, it says, is big, really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the chemist, but that's just every not approach fauna, the regular bird, while disembodied.
Hi, thanks for watching my video essay about this great author. I hope I did him justice. If you did like the video, please consider pressing the like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I'd like to know what's your favorite Douglas Adams story, or maybe even a quote of his that you like. Please let me know in the comments what you'd like me to cover next. I already have some ideas, but it's useful to know what you'd like to see. But anyway, like Ford Prefect might say, stay hoopy my good fruits and keep a close eye on that towel.